Story 1. Second Chance. Nicky, a free spirit with a heart of gold, was driving along the dusty highway in the early 80s. A lone man with a backpack stood by, and Nicky, who always helped stopped the car. The man, old and seemingly harmless, climbed into the car, relief spreading across his face. The conversation flowed easily, and Nicky learned that he was traveling across the country. As the miles passed, a dark undercurrent began to seep into the man's words. He talks about despair, about a deadlocked life. A chill ran down Nicky's spine as he confided that he planned to rob her, using violence if necessary. But something about her kindness, her sincere smile, caught him off guard. He confessed, shame evident in his voice. Nicky, stunned but calm, did not panic. She gives him food, a listening ear, and another path. They spent the next few hours talking, Nicky sharing stories of hope and opportunity. When they broke up, the man changed. Tears welled up in his eyes as he thanked her, not for the trip, but for showing him a way out of his darkness. A week later, the phone rang. That's the hitchhiker. He apologized again, his voice filled with sincerity. He shared that he sought help, found a job, and is rebuilding his life. With a choked voice, he warned her. Don't ever hitchhike from someone else again. The world is not always full of good people like you. Nicky hung up, shocked but forever changed. The kindness she showed not only saved her life, but perhaps also saved a lost soul. Story 2. Despair on a deserted road. Nathan, a college student, braved the deserted streets of New Jersey on a cool fall evening. He glanced in the rearview mirror and saw a figure holding a cardboard sign. Against his better judgment, he stopped his car to pick up the hitchhiker. The man, thin and restless, climbed into the car, his eyes flashing with frantic energy. Silence stretched between them, broken only by the roar of the engine. Suddenly, the man spoke. His voice was hoarse and cold. He confessed that he was on the run, considering ending it all. Nathan's heart pounded as the man reached into his pocket, a metallic glint catching in the fading light. It's a knife. Nathan tried to smile, his mind racing to escape. He started a conversation with the man, pretending to be interested in his story. Finally, a sharp turn appeared. When Nathan slowed down, he blurted out, "Look, that looks like a great diner. Let's have a bite." The man hesitated, then nodded. As soon as they stopped, Nathan put the car into park, opened the door, and sprinted away. He didn't look back, cold laughter echoing in his ears as he rushed into the dense forest along the road. He staggered, adrenaline running through his body until the sound of the car engine stopped completely. Hours later, shaken but still alive, he appeared on the highway, forever scarred by the encounter. Story 3. The hitchhiker disappeared. In the late 1990s, a group of friends set out through the desolate Nevada desert. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows, they spotted a lone figure on the side of the road. It was a young woman, backpack slung over her shoulder, a desperate plea in her eyes. moved by her plight, they stopped the car. The woman, who introduced herself as Sarah, explained that she was stranded after her car broke down. Relieved, they offered to give her a ride. At first, Sarah seems pleasant and chatty, but as darkness swallows the scene, an unsettling silence falls upon her. The miles passed, and Sarah sat strangely still, staring out the window with lifeless eyes. One by one, the friends fell asleep, lulled by the rhythmic hum of the engine. When they woke with the first rays of dawn, the car door was locked. The windows were tightly closed. Panic engulfed them. They stopped the car, frantically searched the deserted roadside, calling her name. But Sarah disappeared without a trace. No footprints, no struggle, just an empty chair and a nagging feeling of dread. Friends reported the incident, but no trace of Sarah was found. The story serves as a chilling reminder of the unknown dangers that can lurk on deserted roads. Story 4. The Collector. This story, although unconfirmed, has circulated in various forms across America for decades. A young man hitchhiking across the country is picked up by a seemingly friendly truck driver. The driver started chatting, bragging about his trips and experiences. He pointed to a large locking toolbox in the back of the truck. Curious, the hitchhiker asked about what was inside. The driver's attitude changed. His eyes became cold and calculating. He explained that the toolbox contained souvenirs from his trips, the license plates of previous hitchhikers. Terror gripped the young man as he realized his precarious situation. Thinking quickly, he pretended to be excited and asked if the driver would also collect the belt buckle. The driver, momentarily distracted, reached for his belt buckle. In that split second, the hitchhiker opened the truck door and jumped out, rolling onto the sidewalk. He staggered to his feet and ran away, the truck driver's angry screams echoing behind him. He never looked back, forever haunted by that cold encounter. Story 5. Siren's Song. Eamon O'Connell, tired and bored after a night of partying, squinted into the pale moonlight. A lone figure stood on the side of a deserted Irish country road, a white figure against an inky black background. As he drew closer, Eamon saw that it was a woman, her beauty extraordinary in the moonlight. Her hair, the color of swirling moonlight, fell down her back, and her eyes had an unnatural depth. Eamon hesitantly stopped the car, driven by a force he couldn't explain. The woman smiled gratefully, her voice like a melody that sent shivers down his spine. As she sat in, the car seemed to be filled with an intoxicating scent, like wildflowers soaked in moonlight. They started chatting, but Eamon found himself losing focus. The woman's voice, initially melodious, turns into a haunting lullaby. It weaved through his mind, weaving stories of forgotten shores and whispering promises of peace. His eyelids drooped, the world around him fading. A cold fear enveloped him as he realized the car was veering off the road. He tried to regain control of the steering wheel. His body felt heavy, his mind slow. The woman's song rang out. The sound of sirens pulled him towards the black stretch of water in the distance. Panic rose within him. With extraordinary effort, Eamon stepped on the brake. The car slid and stopped a hair away from the water's edge. He looked away from the woman, her eyes now glowing an unnatural emerald green. Just as Eamon could utter a prayer, the woman disappeared. The car fell into an eerie silence, broken only by the pounding of his terrified heart. Eamon staggered out, the cold melody clinging to him like a shroud. He collapsed on the muddy bank, the taste of fear like metal in his mouth. Dawn broke, staining the sky with streaks of pink and yellow. Eamon, shocked to the core, tried to flag down a passing car. He never spoke of that encounter again. That memory forever remained in his mind, a cold reminder of a beauty that held a deadly secret. Story 6. Davidffords case. In 1981, David Spafford, a 19-year-old college student, set out on a hitchhiking trip across America. Unlike many other hitchhiking stories, David is not alone. He was accompanied by his best friend, Richard Ring. Their trip begins smoothly, with friendly walks and interesting conversations. Near Portland, Oregon, however, things took a terrifying turn. A seemingly harmless man with a friendly demeanor picked them up. He invited them to drink coffee and smoke, making them comfortable. However, as they continued on the road, the driver's behavior changed. He began making inappropriate comments and driving erratically. Fear gripped David and Richard. When the driver pulled off the main highway onto a deserted dirt road, David knew they were in trouble. Richard, ever resourceful, pretended to be sick and asked to stop the car. The driver hesitated, then stopped the car. In a reckless gamble, David and Richard jumped out of the car and rushed into the dense woods along the roadside. They ran blindly, the sound of the car engine fading behind them. Exhausted and scared, they hid in the bushes for hours, afraid that the driver would return. Finally, when the sun rose, they emerged, shaken but still alive. They managed to flag down a passing car and reach the nearest town. Police were notified, but the driver was never found. The case remains unsolved, a stark reminder of the hidden dangers lurking on the open road. David and Richard's story serves as a cautionary tale, highlighting the importance of trusting your instincts and never letting your guard down when hitchhiking. Story 7. The Long Trip Home. The summer sunlight mercilessly shines down on the dusty Arizona highway. Sarah, stranded after her car broke down miles from the nearest town, stood on the side of the road, her thumb out. A beat-up old pickup truck slowed down, and the driver, a rough-looking man with a missing tooth, nodded rudely. Relief flooded Sarah, the promise of escape from the scorching heat overwhelming any lingering doubts. The driver, who introduced himself as Earl, said almost nothing during the trip. The silence was broken only by the steady rumble of the engine and the occasional hiss of the air conditioner. As the miles passed, Sarah noticed Earl glancing at her more and more often in the rearview mirror. Restlessness rose in her stomach. Then Earl suddenly left the highway and onto a deserted dirt road. Sarah's heart pounded in her chest. "Shortcut," Earl grumbled, his voice no longer warm. The road narrowed, winding through dense bush. Panic clawed at Sarah's throat. The truck stopped in an open space. Earl turned around in his chair, his eyes flashing with a predatory look. He reached into the glove compartment, and Sarah's breath quickened. A flash of metal caught the sunlight. Fear choked her voice as she stammered. What are you doing? Earl's lips curled into a cruel smile. Just a little detour, he said hoarsely, his hand tightening on the object. Thinking quickly, Siren remembered a self-defense trick. Appear submissive, then attack. She forced a weak smile. Okay, whatever you say. Earl seemed surprised for a moment. Seizing the opportunity, Sarah rushed forward, grabbed the door handle, and jumped out of the truck. She ran quickly into the bushes, Earl's angry screams echoing behind her. Guy tore her clothes as she ran blindly. After what seemed like an eternity, she collapsed, gasping for air. Silent. Cautiously, she peered through the foliage. The truck has disappeared. Sarah staggered along, guided only by the sunset, until she reached a deserted stretch of highway, waving to a passing car. She told her story, tears streaming down her face. The memory of the long drive home serves as a cold reminder of the potential dangers lurking on the open road and the importance of trusting your intuition.